And I think from that time, I began to really reflect on this more consciously. And I remembered how many years ago, in my first 18 years, as defined, you know that all children are under 18, right? And I was actually here in Malaysia. Yeah, I'm Malaysian. I still am. Okay? I'm a Singapore PR. Okay? So it's funny that I represent Singapore, but anyway. But I grew up here. My 14 years were here. And not in KL, but in Suraban. And I remember my father. He loved Jesus, but he loved life. And he was involved in many things. My dad came and he said to me when I was 4, he said, I want you to be an explorer. And I want you to explore the world of books and imagine the various things that are open to you. And he encouraged me, and he taught me. He was English, well, he was okay, never mind what he was. I tell you later. I tell you other things. So, he's a great man. And my dad helped me get onto that journey of walking into various worlds, whether it was science, whether it's a book of fantasy, and he helped me to finish reading King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table. Not the little one, you know, the big one. And then the complete works of Shakespeare when I was already a little older, about 8 years old. And because of this love for me to grow and explore, and similarly for my siblings later. And of course, he loved Jesus. So he and my mother, who had this love, of course, for God, trained us and told us that they wanted to empower us to not only know Jesus, but each one of us to take turns to family devotions. Okay, you lead worship, we are 3 of us, myself, though I look very cute and even then I was fat, sorry. And Nala. Then my brother and my sister, we are all a year apart. And you know, each one of us, one had to lead worship, one had to pray, one had to read the scriptures. We all volunteered to worship or lead worship or read prayers. And they, by their example, taught us what it meant to walk with God as well. So, journey with the Lord. And our dad and our mom said to us, and I remember this song, whenever we would travel, especially to KL or other parts of Malaysia, he would teach us this song. It says, do you know this song? I will make you fishers of men, yes, if you follow me. You know, and not him, but Jesus. And so we would have loads of fun. Sports as well, but I must tell you, I never excelled in that. And many other aspects. And then I remember going to school. I studied at a convent in Suraman. And my mother was a principal of ACS Primary then. And we were in convent. And I remember my teachers, when I was 9, and my other friends, and came to us and told us, hey, we would like you, besides all the lessons we had to study, which I'm sure you all know, right? And in my days, we still learned half in English, half in Malay, meaning the sciences in English, all the humanities in Malay. And so, you know, teachers came to us and said, we are going to do this great production, musical, to raise funds for some things in our school. We are giving you girls, okay, it was convent, remember, so not maybe not just guys, but we want you to learn and to develop. We're going to trust you. We're going to trust you with planning and the choreography. The following year, they taught us to plan other aspects of fundraising. Okay? So it's not just about the usual things about this curriculum. They taught us other values. And I remember when I was in primary 6, my principal came to me. She was not a Christian, but she was in a Christian school. But she came to me and she said, Julia, since you are one of the student leaders, I'd like to ask your input on some policy changes. And I said, for the school. And I said, huh, me? And she said, yes, you and your team on prefects. And I said, wow, isn't that wonderful? Our principal values us. So I remember saying, but you know, and I was even shorter than this, etc. So can you imagine? And I said, we are just small. She said, and I remember my principal saying that it's not about how big or small, but it's what's inside you. And we value what's inside you. And I was so touched, you know, and so were my fellow leaders, prefects. And I remember later on, not only in the school, not only our teacher, not only our parents, but also later on our church leaders. I'm from Wesley Methodist Seremban at that time. Okay, my mother still worships there, and it's actually quite old. It's about 90 years old, I think, or so. So I'm younger than 90 years old. And anyway, I remember the leader of the church board at that time. He would invite some of us for fun, and just he would do something similar to what my principal used to do. He would get our ideas and says, we see whether we can incorporate this, and they would also give us opportunities to grow. And so, why am I telling you this? I'm telling you this not to tell you who I am. I'm telling you this that if all this came back to me as I reflected on the question of the little boy, the answer of the boy to my question, because he wanted to be the president of Singapore because he wanted to shape the values of the nation. But for someone to shape, somebody else has to shape us and develop us. And not only when we are much older, but even when we are young. So, and right here in Malaysia, in Seremban, just a little way down south from here, my parents, my teachers, and in fact, I just met my teacher yesterday. My teacher that said that when I was 9, she said, I wanted you and your team to design the choreography for certain aspects of the musical. Just met her and she said, oh, so nice to see you after so many years. And that's true. Why? She was excited that what she had helped empower, the person had grown. And similarly, this 414 window is all about us. God calling us, not all about us, but God calling us to reach, to raise, and most of us do that, and forget the third, release, which is to empower. And if we don't empower them when they are children, how would we expect them to learn? We can pass the baton, but if they don't know how to take, and some of us don't want to let go of the baton either, okay? And so how do we do that and transition that, of course, with the adults championing us, guiding us, so that we can rise? And in Isaiah, we taking this out of context, so please forgive me. Isaiah 42:6, it says, I, the Lord, have called you in righteousness. I will take hold of your hand, and I will keep you. And then it says, and I will make you, NIV version, a covenant unto the peoples, a light unto the Gentiles. That was God speaking. But that's what he does for each. He was speaking actually about the servant, the servant of Jesus, the chosen servant. But I think, this is where I'm taking out of context, I think it applies to us. And I think that is what, since it applies to us, because he called us our righteousness, he calls us to be like him, isn't it? So that we too can empower others. And the interesting thing he said there is, I'll make you a covenant unto the peoples. It is, what's a covenant? It's a promise. The closest we know in real life is about a marriage covenant, isn't it? Not that we are already the thing, but we are a covenant. God will make us that covenant. And because we are the children right before him, as Dr. Keith White said earlier, kind of. And in the same way, I think God calls us to help little children and empower them and help them become a person of promise. To reach them. So the questions earlier about should we reach them or should we raise them? I think most of the time we do want to reach them, and as we reach them, we want to raise them. Some of us do a fantastic job of raising them. Some of us not so good. Some of us pay lip service to it. But many of us forget that some of us do release them. But do we fully embrace that concept? And I believe the 414 movement, I'll tell you a little bit more about myself. I'm not really part of the 414 movement and alone. I do other things, I'll tell you that later. But so I would like you to watch this video for a few minutes. Okay? It's not sport.